Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Georgia Tech IISE Podcast series. Today, our guests are Georgia Tech Industrial Engineering alumni, here to give us a glimpse of a few of the many paths for IE students after graduation. My name is Mel. I'm a fourth-year IE student. I'm currently the Director of Technology for IISE, and my co-host today will be Anthony.
Hello, I'm Anthony. I'm a fifth-year IE at Georgia Tech. I currently serve as the VP of Finance and Communications of IISE. And of course, I'm really excited to be here today with our four lovely guests. If you guys would like to introduce yourselves.
Sure. So my name is Mahati Vavilala. I graduated from Georgia Tech in May 2019, so not too long ago. And while I was at Tech, I was the VP of Professional Planning in IISE. Prior to that, I was Director of Info Sessions, and I was also involved with marketing. And I am currently a supply chain consultant at a small company that's based in Dunwoody that's called Bricks. And something fun I used to do at Tech outside of, late nights for IISE, I was involved with an organization called SEPC that I know Anthony is also involved with. And we planned a lot of fun events, so really enjoyed my time in that organization.
Hey everyone, my name is Arjun Patra. I am a alumni from Georgia Tech, studied industrial engineering, graduated same year as Mahati, May 2019. Mahati and I both actually joined Georgia IISE back in spring of 2016. Is that right? Yeah. Started out as an initiatives officer, helped pilot a couple of programs, then was the director of career affairs, and then was the president of IISE back in 2018. I currently work at Deloitte Consulting, where I'm a business analyst in our strategy and analytics practice. And that's been a great experience. Happy to talk about that further. And one of my favorite things to do at Georgia Tech, in addition to IISE, is I'm a huge foodie, so love traveling the city. Definitely feel free to reach out to me if you need any food recs.
My name is Casey Wood. I graduated this past May of 2020. I started out in IISE as the Director of Career Affairs, and then after that I was the President. And I'm currently an Associate Industrial Engineer at Universal Parks and Resorts in Orlando. And something fun I liked to do while at Tech, I was involved in RUF, which is a campus ministry, and I ate a lot of cookout milkshakes, which I'm really missing right now in Orlando. So.
Hey everybody, this is Chris Clark. I graduated Georgia Tech as an ISYE grad in December 2019, so this past winter, and I started out in IISE as a member of the Regional Conference Planning Board when the Regional Conference came to town in Atlanta, and I helped out with the logistical side of that, and then I joined the exec board in general as a social events officer and a graduate as director of operations. And I currently work as a software implementation consultant at a company in Atlanta called PowerPlan. And my favorite memory from Georgia Tech was running the Pi Day picnic, just getting the pie professors in the face and run around like a maniac, making sure nothing fell apart.
Awesome. Thank you guys for sharing your introductions. So the questions that we have today are broken up into two different sections. The first section is kind of understanding how you got to the current role that you're in. And then the second section will be kind of discussing what those roles are, what are the pros and cons, what you like, what you don't like. So the first question that we have is in terms of specific industries. So all actively apply to the specific industries when applying to internships and full-time, or did you fall into them naturally? Also, did you have a dream job when applying, and did that factor into that process?
Yeah, I can start out. So my kind of methodology for approaching recruiting was to really leverage the internships opportunities at Georgia Tech. Every summer, I try to pick a role that interested me, but was pretty different from what I had done the previous year. So across my 3 different internships, I got to see a wide variety of things from a technology angle, business angle, risk angle, at very different companies and enjoyed that experience. And so from there, what I did come full-time recruiting was look at those experiences and see which one best represented what I would want to do, and then take a very targeted approach. So in my case, I really wanted to do business and strategy related consulting. So ended up applying to a lot of companies that fit that profile, and that's kind of how I ended up at Deloitte.
Yeah, I would say I had a similar approach when applying to internships and full-time roles. When I was applying to internships, when I started out at tech, I started out doing a lot more computer science classes than IE. So I started out doing a lot of those like computer science-y, IT type of internships. And I knew that I really wanted a different type of experience every summer. So I had an experience in a defense company, and then I went to financial services, and then I went to ecom. And those could not have been more different, but I really enjoyed those, getting that exposure in those internships. And so when I went into my full-time search, I knew that I wanted to do supply chain, and I knew I wanted to probably, maybe do consulting. And I don't know if I necessarily had a dream job per se, but I guess I ended up as a supply chain consultant. So it kind of worked out where I'm kind of doing the two things that I really wanted to do. But yeah, for sure, it's a difficult time. It's a stressful time, but I think that the approach that I took, which was, trying to focus a little bit, but then keeping a broad mind and really trying to leverage the skills that you get in your classes and in your internships, and being able to project that. So take, one thing that you got from one internship and spin that to fit maybe another role or another type of company. And I found that that really helped me succeed and ultimately, end up in a job that I'm really enjoying.
I had a very similar approach to Arjun and Mahati in that variety is the spice of life, and I went into Georgia Tech not knowing exactly what I wanted to do with industrial engineering, so I tried a bit of everything. I worked as a manufacturing engineer in my hometown before I even came into tech. They invited me back another summer. I worked at Coca-Cola for a year doing marketing strategy at the global level, which was really cool. And then I worked some on-campus jobs as a database administrator almost in a way. And I just did everything that I could just to try it out. And not only did I pick up soft skills along the way, but there were a lot of underlying themes of just what you can do on the job as an IE. And eventually I settled in at PowerPlan, and now I'm doing tax consulting and implementing software for utilities clients. So I never would have guessed I would find myself here 4 or 5 years ago, but I definitely appreciate it, and a lot of the skills just really translate well enough, especially my SQL classes. And so in terms of a general industry, just be explorative, and just you may not realize exactly which industry you're meant for until you're there.
I had a very different experience than the other three of you guys. Variety was not my spice, as it turned out. But I didn't really intend it to be that way. I just, the first company I ended up working with happened to be the one that I really loved. Although I did, so I did 3 different semesters at Universal, and I got to kind of rotate around to different teams. And so I kind of worked on very different projects. So in that sense, I still did get a lot of different skill sets, different experiences from those different teams. But I'm really kind of lucky that I ended up at the company that I had really always dreamed of working at. So that's not always the case. And really, yeah, I'm really just so lucky that it ended up that way. But yeah.
So this is a quick follow-up for all of you guys, because I know that obviously IE is very versatile. It takes you 4 to 5 years, and then you sort of have an idea of what you want to do. But like coming in as a freshman, you guys all started IE, right? Like, what did you guys think you would be ending up doing? Like, I don't know, because when I was a freshman, I thought I was just gonna honestly end up in like a production facility, right, and work on a manufacturing line. But just wanted your takes on that.
I literally worked in a bathroom stall factory before coming to tech and after tech. So I was like, man, like, I'm just working with rectangles like in a factory. So I guess this is what IEs do. And then I learned so much more about what IEs can do as I went through tech and eventually landed in my career.
Yeah, I didn't really know. I didn't really have a good picture of what IEs did. I just knew I was a really impatient person and I really didn't like lines. And I knew that somehow IEs used math to fix those problems. So that's kind of all I knew going into it. But
Yeah, I applied to Georgia Tech as biomedical engineering. But before I even, committed to Georgia Tech, I had never heard of IE until I was looking into Georgia Tech, and I found out, Georgia Tech has the #1 program in the country. And as I was looking into the program, I was really drawn to the fact that it was that intersection of math and business that I really enjoyed. And those were, kind of my strengths coming in to tech. And I really loved that intersection and the ability to apply that to so many different types of companies and industries. Like, you go to the ISYE website and right off the bat, you see so many cool companies, you see so many cool roles, you see all these people that have graduated and become CEOs. And that was, something that really appealed to me. And, pretty immediately right before FAFSA even, I switched to ISYE, and it was a fantastic decision.
Yeah. I also applied to Georgia Tech as something else. I think I applied as like a mechanical engineer, but switched over the summer to IE. The main reason being, kind of how Mahati said, was ISYE is kind of the intersection in my eyes was between business, technology, and kind of like that people management. And I noticed that was something that really stood out to me across like all the other engineering majors, and definitely was something like I was very interested in. In terms of like an actual job, I never imagined myself in the kind of job I was doing. I think I imagined myself almost like what you were mentioning, Anthony, like some kind of like production or like working in like a factory, like optimizing processes, whatever that means, right? But I think like for like any like younger people who might be listening, I think one of the benefits of the IE degree is it's okay to not know exactly what you want to do, and it's okay to not understand or like have a like good grasp of what you might do with your degree. I think the experience you'll get through classes, projects, extracurricular activities, and your internships as you build them up will give you a good idea of like what you want to do and how you want to shape your career, both early on through later internships, your first job, and for the rest of your life.
I think that's a great point, Arjun. We touched on a lot of how internships influence, what your interests are and how to get there. But what classes, clubs, organizations, or experiences at Tech do you think most influenced or most prepared you for the work that you do in your current role?
like Chris said, I really appreciated the SQL classes, the class. And then I'm also right now I'm doing a lot with inventory management. So I actually had to pull out my notes from logistics. So those two classes. And then I appreciate senior design a lot more now than I did while I was in it. But I think that prepared me in a lot of ways that a normal class can't. So with it in hindsight, I appreciate it. I did not appreciate it in the moment.
From a kind of away from coursework in terms of organizations. So of course, IISE, getting the experience of planning huge events, interacting with companies, the type of communication skills that you develop have definitely been instrumental, especially as I am in a consultant role and directly working with clients. That ability to be familiar with companies through those interactions has been incredible. I was also involved with the Society of Women Engineers while at Georgia Tech, and I was president. And I really enjoyed my experiences through the organization because that really inspired me to develop a passion for furthering women in engineering, women in STEM, and women in leadership. And I've actually carried that into my current role at Bricks, where I decided to I founded and led and now lead the Women at Bricks organization within Bricks, which is really exciting to be able to just, get a group of women together, lead meetings, talk about different topics like implicit bias, allyship, intersectionality, and even, plan events on a company-wide scale. So I would say that experience that I got during my time at Georgia Tech really allowed me to further develop that passion, and ultimately, to my role even as an entry-level consultant, and develop and hone in on those leadership skills that I had developed at Georgia Tech.
Yeah, I think like from a class perspective, so I also was a finance major. So on the IE side, I think the classes that stood out to me most were as capital investments, supply chain econ, optimization, and stochastics. I think those four represent a good blend of like different types of like skills that you can use. I don't necessarily think I use those skills and those formulas the way we did in class, but then again, I doubt a lot of people will. Casey, you might be the exception looking at your notes. I have not looked at notes since I graduated. But I think it's really the value of the IE degree to me has always been shaping that mentality of knowing there is a problem and the approach of how to solve it. You might not know the formula off the top of your head. You might not know like the exact steps, but okay, in the grand scheme of things, I'm going to have to do 3 different things, and I know how I can do those things. I just need to figure that out. And that's been like, and having that open-mindedness, having that willingness and the ability to have a lot of different skills you can leverage has been the most valuable. It's definitely something that came out during group projects, during senior design, and it's definitely very valuable post-graduation.
For me, working at a software company, all of the coding classes were helpful, even the one-off type coding classes where you might have the coding project and optimization or something like that. But outside of that, I love helping my company out with like planning social events and stuff to keep us together, since we've been working remotely since March and everything. And IISE helped a lot with that, with getting experience in social events and all of that kind of stuff, and being able to work through the logistics. And I completely agree with Arjun that it's really just that mindset to algorithmically tackle really any problem you face that really matters a lot when you graduate.
Cool. So switching focuses just a little bit. In your GT 1000 classes, one thing that especially relating to IE, one thing that they really emphasize is networking. And you hear that a lot throughout different clubs that you're involved in. So in your experience when applying to different positions, how has networking played a role and helped you or benefited you in the process?
Yeah, so every single role I've ultimately accepted, not necessarily got, but accepted, has been through networking. For my freshman year, I was in an interview. Honest to God, it really wasn't going well. It was a phone call, so you lose that human interaction. I could tell like I was giving answers. He was just literally probably reading off a sheet, and then he finally gets to like, so why'd you want to apply to this role? And I said, oh, because my friend said my friend's name was an intern last summer, and he really loved his experience. And then that recruiter immediately perked up because he was the one who also recruited my friend, and they had stayed in touch and were really good friends. So then we started going on a tangent. Me and my friend, we had just hung out like last weekend, so we talked about that, and immediately I saw the like change of pace in his tone. He started asking me like more like personal questions rather than reading off a list. It really became a conversation. And then I think the next day or so I heard back, and it was a yes. So definitely attribute a lot of success to my network, and definitely as Georgia Tech students, feel free to leverage your network as much as possible. I know you're going to hear that a lot, but but feel free to reach out to friends, family, alumni. LinkedIn's such a powerful resource. You can shoot blind emails out or connection requests to any Georgia Tech alumni and say, hey, interested in your career, would you mind talking to me for 15 to 20 minutes about something? Really would love to learn more. Had a lot of success doing that as a student, and even now as an alumni. If a Georgia Tech student does reach out to me, I always make sure to carve out some special time for them.
Yeah, Arjun mentioned LinkedIn, and that's really the whole reason I am in the position I am now. That's how I got my co-op at Universal. I just happened to send this long shot message to this guy that someone had told me his name. So I found him. He was a director in the IE department. And I just messaged him and I said, hey, I'm really interested in the theme park industry. I worked in the parks last summer, and now I'm getting an IE degree. I'd love to talk more about an opportunity to intern for your department. And he just happened to respond and said, yeah, send me your resume. And really, that's how I got the internship, and then that turned into a co-op, that turned into a full-time job. So definitely don't underestimate LinkedIn and all of those kind of virtual tools, especially now while we're all at home. And I know for a lot of people, networking can kind of seem very inauthentic, or it just can feel kind of weird. But I think ultimately, as long as you're going into it with the thought process of this isn't just about me, this is about creating connections, this is a two-way relationship, and we can both learn from each other and just stay connected throughout our careers, I think that will A, make you feel a lot more comfortable, and B, make those networking events feel a little bit more authentic, because you're not always going to get a job offer from those conversations, and that shouldn't always be your end goal. It's really to create those connections. So that's something I kind of had to learn, because it does, at the beginning, it feels really inauthentic, but in the end, it's really a mutually beneficial thing, and you get to learn so much from other people while you're doing it too. So.
Absolutely. I think networking is really cool. You know, like Casey was saying, it's all about authenticity. I remember freshman year, I used to think it was so daunting. Like, you know, it's these really short, like, coffee chats and, you know, let's, you know, connect and buzzwords like that. And it really threw me off. But the biggest thing is forming a connection, and people genuinely want to continue to communicate with, or continue to be in contact with people that they have a connection with. So Georgia Tech is a fantastic connection. Georgia Tech IISE, the network that you can get through, you know, through being an alum of Georgia Tech IISE is incredible. And through various student organizations like IISE. And so in that way, I've definitely found that even if you're able to establish a little bit of a connection, some kind of common talking point, that really, you know, it can go on tangents, like Arjun was saying, and ultimately people aren't going to remember, you know, the like facts about what you've said, but they'll remember how they felt while speaking to you. And by connecting on that level and establishing that level of authenticity, they're going to remember, oh, I had a great conversation with this person. Maybe I don't remember exactly what we talked about, but I remember, you know, feeling good about this conversation. And that could lead to future job opportunities. It could just lead to, you know, furthering your network for other roles, or even beyond jobs.
So when Mahati spoke of student organizations, I think another type of student organization that we haven't touched on yet is Greek life at Georgia Tech, which I think is a great way to just naturally have networking, because you'll have alumni coming in for game days and you just get to meet them naturally. I actually met one of my higher ups on my team as a freshman at my fraternity, because he came in and did resume workshops. And it turned out that eventually I learned several people from my fraternity worked at PowerPlan, where I currently work. And it, by complete chance, one of those alumni was one of my final interviewers for my job. And I'll never forget that. You know, he told me, hey, did you apply here? One of the interviewers, and I told him, yeah. He just said to play it low, just because, you know, that's not normally supposed to happen. So I was stressed going in there and just acting like I had never met that alumni before. And then he just came out and hugged me and said, you know, you're good, basically. which I never would have expected in an interview in my life. But I mean, outside of that very instance, I mean, networking just really makes you not another face in the crowd of people wanting a job or another name on a resume, that type of thing, especially when it's built over years and years of casual contact.
Yeah, just kind of like circle back and rounding it out. We've talked about some of the like sources, and I think a couple other good ones to highlight are like Student Alumni Association, SGA. A lot of these larger institute clubs have some kind of mentorship, student alumni, freshman, senior mentorship programs. And so if you're kind of nervous about doing those blind virtual kind of connections, a lot of these clubs have great streamlined programs for you to go and meet other students or recent alumni. And that way it's not really like hey, it might be weird to kind of meet you. It's more of building a connection. You guys are both there because you care about this organization, or they match you because you have a lot of similarities based on a survey you might have filled out. And that's just a great way if you're kind of nervous about networking, if you're a freshman, maybe don't know what you want to do, just to have like an instant ability to like start talking to someone and build those skills and kind of test the water there.
Funny you should mention that. This is where we shamelessly plug ISE's freshman mentorship program that we started this semester. Wow. But seriously, we have started it this semester, and I'm pretty sure we're going to open up applications again next semester, or at least next fall. So if you're interested, keep your eyes out. So we probably have time for maybe one, potentially two more questions. So let's get into something that actually is really personal to me, because I'm sitting on two offers right now, and I honestly can't decide between them. What were your priorities at the time? Really, it can be anything, right? Because I'm considering factors like what's the role, like the brand name of the company, my future career, the raw salary amount. Like, how did you guys like make your decisions essentially?
I would say that's a good problem to have, first off. It's incredible, the ability to come out of, ISYE, you've worked really hard, you've had various internship experiences, and now you have the opportunity to pick between multiple full-time roles. That's a fantastic problem to have. And in the moment, it can seem really stressful. I know when I was, my senior year fall, I went through that, and I found that I made a spreadsheet. I considered a lot of different factors. Of course, money is a factor, but what does the role look like? What is the company culture like? How are your interview experiences, and how did that speak for the people at the company? Because at the end of the day, you're working 9 to 5, maybe longer with these people. You're spending most of your day with them, beyond the current times that we're in physically. And it's so important that you enjoy the people that you work with and the people that you'll have the potential to work with. And even beyond that, what is the impact of your work? Definitely, connecting with various people throughout the company and asking them these difficult questions, especially once you're at the phase of, I have an offer, now it's almost like my turn to interview you. Definitely take advantage of that, because the opinions and the perspectives that you get during that process is super valuable. And I found that, I think the offer that I ended up picking with Bricks, it was different than I would have anticipated at the beginning of my recruiting cycle. I never would have imagined working for a small, like 30 to 40 person company and staying in Atlanta, because I had always pictured, leaving Atlanta. And I would say that the decision that I made has been super beneficial. And so you do, you consider various factors. And at the end of the day, don't stress too much. Give yourself a hard deadline and commit. And then, once you're done, it's such a huge like relief to just be done with the recruiting cycle, and to have something in hand and have the next step of your life post graduation kind of figured out.
Yeah, and just like a quick follow up to that, you said important like interview experiences. Like what has been like the one even throughout like your internship interviewing, like what made you smile when you interviewed and you're like, wow, this company's pretty great. Because I know I recently received like an Uber Eats gift card and I'm like, I'm sold. $30, you got me.
Yeah, I mean, that's a fantastic example of, it shows that the company cares for you, cares about you. Little things like swag or like invite-only events that definitely make you feel good. But I would say that during the interview process, for me, it was, did I enjoy interviewing or was I intimidated? Or was I, it's very easy to go into an interview super nervous. You're all, dressed up in a suit, or if you're virtual, maybe like from the waist up. And it can be stressful. It can be nerve-wracking. But the ways in which the people that you talk to, make you feel better, or if they ask you fun questions, all of the positive interview experiences I had, they were creative questions that made me think, or just interview settings where I was able to kind of let loose a little bit and really let my personality come through. And that was a huge factor for me. And just reflecting on those interview experiences, even if, during the moment, maybe I was going into an interview and I was like, I'm just going in maybe for practice. I may have come out of that interview and seen it as, wow, I really enjoyed this interview experience. Now this is a company that I'm seriously going to consider. So those are definitely, factors to consider even before you get to the offer stage as you're interviewing.
So I actually did have I had a hard time deciding which offer I wanted to pick. And at the end of the day, it really came down to the work I was doing and what I knew I would be the happiest doing. Because as much as it seems like a really awesome job working for Universal or Disney, at the end of the day, it's really not nearly as flashy, I would say, as like some other roles where you have this ridiculous salary, you're in this awesome city, you're traveling your laptop is state of the art. Like, it's really not flashy in that sense. We're in the middle of Orlando, which I can say because I grew up here, is, if you don't like theme parks, there's not much going for it, except for ridiculous amounts of humidity. So that's not true. Orlando's okay. I just happen to like theme parks. But I knew that the sacrifice was going to be so worth enjoying the work that I do, as well as the people that I worked with. Since I had interned there, I knew the team that I was joining, and I knew that they were great people that I kind of clicked with. And at the end of the day, it was a really hard decision. There were other jobs that were really, really interesting, really different. But at the end of the day, I just knew where my heart was. And yeah, so that might not be the case for you. Maybe it's just, there's all these different offers and they all kind of have pros and cons, which there always will be. But for me, it was really the quality of life that I would have at each job. So.
Okay. Well, not that I don't want to give Arjun and Chris a chance to respond, but we are getting time to our last question, which I think is like, this is going to be the most important one, right? Like looking back at your experience thus far post-graduation, what's a piece of advice you give your fourth or fifth year self, Like, what would you say?
Don't graduate in the middle of a pandemic.
That's the easy one.
Easy one right off the bat. I would also say that that you really don't have to stress as nearly as much as you are about getting an A on this test, or applying to 60 jobs. It'll be okay. And really, which I don't really have major regrets about my last year or two at tech, but I would say definitely spend as much time as you can kind of with with people, kind of doing fun things as opposed to just studying, stressing, viewing 24/7, because those are the fun parts of college, of senior year. So yeah.
I would say some advice I could give, like not just fourth, fifth years now, but like myself when I was in that mindset of recruiting, what am I going to do? Just relax. I promise you, you all are very talented people. You guys have gone this far here at Georgia Tech. You're interviewing at some top companies. It's absolutely okay if you start applying and you don't get a couple of interviews, or if you start interviewing at a company you really like and you don't get the job. Just because a couple of rejections happen is no indication of who you are and how good you are and whether or not you would be a good employee at one of these companies. Just like when you guys are applying to colleges, a lot of this has to do with luck. Some of these companies literally get thousands of applicants, and it's absolutely possible that you get lost like in the numbers. And honestly, that's just the reality of it. Like, there's sometimes it's absolutely okay if you don't hear back, just take a breather and say, okay, there's still plenty of other opportunities, other companies out there. Another thing I'd say not to stress about, don't focus on trying to find the exact perfect job you dreamed of. There's going to have to be pros and cons to every single job that you apply for, and it's absolutely okay if you find a job that isn't everything you wanted. You should still want to do the job, and you should still want to like your team, like the role, like the mission, the projects you'll be working on. But it's absolutely okay if it doesn't seem perfect to you at first. A lot of people really hype up this concept that your first job has to be perfect, but in reality, once you get there, the roles and opportunities you have to go in so many different directions are limitless, and you can really work a lot on shaping your own career. So two kind of advices there on the more professional side. And then like Casey mentioned, take some time and enjoy your senior year. I think like the second semester of senior year, after I finished all of my recruiting, signed the offer and everything, that was probably the most fun semester I had in college, where, we basically all were done with like the craziest part of college. And now, we kind of had this deadline that we're graduating, and a lot of people who I'm really close with, I might not see ever again. So make sure to take that time and enjoy the city of Atlanta, enjoy hanging out with your friends, and yes, even maybe enjoying classes once in a while, because let's be real, you can never take a nap again in between classes unless you go to grad school. So I honestly do miss a lot of my experiences I had at Tech, and I definitely make sure for you guys to enjoy the rest of yours as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Invest in memories, invest in moments, invest in yourself. Those are definitely things that I miss. There's so many aspects of college that I miss now. And, once you leave college, again, not to be dramatic or somber, once you leave college, there are a lot of things that you won't get back. So definitely cherish those. Your last year, your last semester. It's a really fun time if you make the most of it. It can be stressful. Just embrace it all, because even if you're, maybe you're stressing for jobs or you're stressing for class, once you graduate, you don't have to stress for a class unless you go to grad school, of course. So, even that like takes solace in all of those moments and all of those memories, which you will fondly look back on.
Yep. In hindsight, what felt like one of the longest marathons ever in my life being at Georgia Tech was really a sprint looking back. And my advice to my past self, and really all Georgia Tech students, is that just stay involved and enjoy yourself and what's around you. Like going to the football games, go to a party or something once those are back in fashion, all that good stuff, and just really being involved in certain clubs and being really invested in your classes and everything can really just take you places and help you grow in ways you never would have foreseen yourself doing before.
I feel so much calmer, like hearing y'all's advice right now. It feels good. Well, thank you all for being here with us today. Thank you to all our speakers for giving us excellent guidance. And thank you to our audience who are listening in today. If you ever have any questions or suggestions for our podcast, feel free to email us. Check out our website, gtiisc.com. Is it .org? Dude, I should know that. I'm the director of technology. .org. Great. And stay tuned for our next episode. See y'all next time. Cool.